GeoFox, Site Perspectives, and we're going to take a closer nosedive at the Ohio House bill that effectively bans drag, which the Ohio bill was actually passed. So this is why, this is a huge issue. So just want to break it on down so people can understand. So these anti-trans bills have been going on for the past decade, essentially, and they're being passed at the local and state level, and then of course we're seeing that at the federal government, federal level as well. So just to kind of go over this, Ohio House Bill, State House Bill HB 249 would criminalize drag outside of adult cabaret venues. Okay? The Ohio House of Representatives has passed a bill that would effectively ban drag performances in the entire state, in addition to potentially impacting transgender people's access to gendered public spaces like locker rooms if passed into law. So a Republican-dominated legislative body in Ohio voted 63 to 32 to pass Ohio's Bill 249, or enact the Indecent Exposure Modernization Act. The bill would amend the state's indecent exposure law to ban any instances of adult cabaret performances from occurring outside of an adult cabaret venue and from taking place in the presence of a minor. That category includes performers or entertainers who exhibit a gender identity that is different from the performer's or entertainer's biological sex, such as using clothing, makeup, prosthetics, or imitation genitals or breasts or other physical markers, meaning that the bill would heavily restrict drag performances in Ohio. The bill also establishes varying penalties associated with such performances taking place in front of a minor, ranging from a first-degree misdemeanor, which would result in a jail sentence, up to 180 days. So you would spend time in jail for 6 months, to felonies of 4th or 5th degree, which would result in jail sentences of up to 18 months, which is a year and a half in jail. Lawmakers have also indicated that HB 249 could be used to restrict trans women's access to gender public facilities. A press release from the Ohio House states, quote, "The legislation strengthens Ohio law to protect children from harmful and obscene adult performances and reinforces privacy in private spaces such as restrooms and locker rooms, and that the bill establishes clearer legal standards to help maintain privacy and safety in spaces designated for biological females." The press release referenced a 2023 court case in which a trans woman was found not guilty of indecent exposure for using a YMCA women's changing room, claiming that the incident highlighted gaps in Ohio's current indecent exposure law. Now, this is what we mean by Republicans for the longest have spent their entire time talking about how they're for small government and government is too big, yet they're the same political party that wants to do genital checks, wants to know who you're sleeping with as far as your sexuality, is trying to police your gender and tell you who you can and cannot be, wants to be in the doctor office with you as well. Doesn't sound like a lot of small government to me. It sounds like a lot of overhaul. Sounds like big government to me. But again, and also, how are you going to police how somebody else chooses to dress? You're going to find, and which we're already seeing, you're going to find a lot of cisgender people who are going to get screwed over by these anti-trans legislation. Because a lot of cis people don't live up to their own cis ideals, right? You have a lot of men who have long hair. Is that going to be a felony now? Because, oh, you got your nails done? Is that going to be a felony too? Women, you got a haircut? You got a fade? Is that going to be a felony? Because that's not really, you see where I'm going with this? And then it doesn't make any sense that, number one, if you go out in public, you're going to likely be around people of all ages, including children. So by default, most people are going to be breaking the law in Ohio. Because, again, most people are not living up to the ideals of white supremacist patriarchal views on gender. It just needs to be called out on that. They're not. And that's going to be detrimental. And then you're literally telling trans people that them existing is a felony, is a misdemeanor. Intersex people. And once again, this is what the LGBTQ plus community is constantly being thrown to the wolves. Drag performance, drag artists, intersex and trans people, we're all being thrown to the wolves on a consistent basis. And a lot of our so-called cis family, friends, what have you, don't say anything, don't bring it up, don't ask how you doing, how you feeling, do you need any assistance, how can I help you? Nothing. They're not rallying, they're not protesting, they're not sharing information, they're not donating. Everybody wants to act like it's not that big of a deal until it happens to somebody that they know or it happens to them directly. Then all of a sudden, where is everybody? How come nobody said anything? Again, this is what's going on state to state, local, state, and federal government. Pay attention. So according to the Buckeye Flame, an Ohio-specific LGBTQ plus publication, House Bill 249, Ohio State House Bill, primary sponsor, Representative Josh Williams, repeatedly referenced a 2023 lawsuit before seemingly calling trans people perverts in front of the entire House, even though it's typically cisgender males that are the perverts. And if we're really going to break it down, it's typically white, cisgendered, heterosexual males that are molesting, raping, and killing women and girls and children. How many times do we have to hear about a white, cisgendered, heterosexual male, Christian religious person at the church, at the Catholic Church, a man of the community who ends up being a whole child molester and predator over and over again? It's actually people that look like Representative Josh Williams that you need to be watching out for. But okay. In front of the entire House, quote, as long as I'm alive, I'm going to prevent perverts from exposing kids to obscene materials. Meanwhile, you allow perverts to be the president of the United States. You allow rapists and child molesters to be in government and elected officials. House Bill 249 has been heavily opposed by advocates, with the ACLU of Ohio calling the legislation full of vague, overbroad, nonsensical provisions that can be easily contorted, twisted, and misapplied in the statement. The organization pointed out the redundancy of the bill, since indecent exposure is already criminalized by Ohio law. Further, drag is protected speech, just like any other art form. The statement reads, quote, dance, fashion, and music are all protected by the First Amendment, which is another reason why the Republicans at the local, state, and federal level are constantly trying to dismantle our U.S. Constitution and our amendment rights. The bill is yet another attempt to silence and censor the LGBTQ plus community by denying drag performers their constitutional right to free expression. And trans people have the right to free expression. Ohio is far from the first state to introduce anti-drag legislation that has potentially worrying impacts for trans people. According to the Movement Advancement Project, 2 other states, Montana and Tennessee, have laws on the books that explicitly restrict drag performances, though both are currently unenforceable due to federal court orders. A federal judge additionally ruled that Tennessee's anti-drag law is unconstitutional in 2023. 4 additional states have laws about adult performances that could be used to restrict drag, including North Dakota, Texas, Arkansas, and Florida, though Texas and Florida's laws are currently unenforceable. So I just will continue to highlight what's going on as it pertains to trans people, intersex people, LGBTQ plus people, looking at the local, state, and federal policies, legislations, laws, economics, social, etc. Because we've been under attack for ever, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And this is why I'm sorry, but I could care less about Pop the Balloon and a lot of things when you're not going to be able to pop any balloon when your ass is being locked up and thrown away in an ICE detention camp because you're queer, because you're trans, because you're LGBTQ plus, because you decided to have on lipstick and have your nails done, but you're a man. Or because you're a woman and you decided to wear shorts and have a fade. Like I said, y'all think everything's a joke and everything's a laughing matter, and it's not. This stuff is real. These laws and policies have real implications, and typically the most vulnerable, the most marginalized are at the crosshairs and will be the main ones being victimized, persecuted, and harmed. And if we're looking at it from that standpoint, that's going to be Black and brown trans women, Black and brown trans feminine people, okay, and trans people in general. So again, information is in the description box below. If you claim to be an ally, you claim to care, show up and let your actions speak for you.